Hi, I'm Lorraine. My parents said I didn't need the money, so they gave my $9 million inheritance to my brother instead. He burned through it. Now they're begging me to save the family company he's driving into the ground. But this wasn't a one-time betrayal. It was years of being the backup plan, the one who always bounced back, until I didn't. Want to know what finally broke me? The dining room looked like it belonged in a magazine, too pristine to feel like home. Mahogany walls, sterling silver utensils, napkins folded into sharp little triangles. Mother always said presentation mattered more than warmth. I sat across from Dorian. He wore a tailored navy suit and sipped from a glass of Bordeaux, laughing too loudly at something Dad said. His Rolex glinted under the chandelier, and the way he swirled his wine made it look like he'd already inherited the world. "Lorraine, you didn't touch your steak," Mom noted, her tone half smile, half warning. "I'm just not hungry," I replied, forcing a neutral expression. The silence that followed wasn't thick, it was intentional. Dad cleared his throat. "We wanted to tell you both something. We've been thinking about the family trust." My fork hovered mid-air. "We've decided to transfer the full amount, $9 million, to Dorian. He has vision. He's launching something exciting next quarter, and we believe it's the right time to support him fully." I didn't respond. Mom leaned in. "Sweetheart, you've always been stable, dependable. You're practical. You don't need as much of a cushion." I placed my fork down, carefully, gently. Dad continued as if it were a line item on a company report. "You're doing well. You don't need help. But Dorian, this will change everything for him." Across the table, Dorian gave me a tight smile, like he expected applause. That's when Mom reached into her purse and pulled out Grandfather's watch, the one I was promised when I was 14. The one Grandpa whispered should go to the one who listens. Without a word, she walked around the table and buckled it around Dorian's wrist. He glanced at it, then back at me, eyes smug. My hands didn't shake, my lips didn't move. 16 years ago, I sat by Grandpa's hospital bed while Dorian snuck out to a party. Grandpa had pressed that watch into my hand and said, "This belongs to the one who shows up." But tonight it didn't matter. I could see it in their eyes. What was mine had been reassigned, quietly, neatly, without resistance. I folded my napkin, smoothed the pleat. "Excuse me," I said, rising. No one stopped me. In the car, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even turn on the radio. I just drove, the leather steering wheel cold under my fingertips. One by one, I deleted contacts from my phone. Mom, Dad, Dorian. Not blocked, just erased. When I got home, I opened the closet and pulled down an old manila folder labeled Pulse Path Draft 0. I laid it on the desk, clicked the lamp on low, and stared at the first slide. Predictive logistics, human-level accuracy. They bet everything on him. Let's see what that gets them. The envelope looked like nothing. Just another plain white slip slid under my apartment door in Midtown, wedged between a utility bill and a circular from the HOA. But when I saw the county seal, something in my stomach folded in on itself. It was a notice from the Fulton County Tax Office addressed to me, for a property I thought I co-owned, the Lake House, the same house I helped renovate, the one my father promised would be mine. I opened it slowly. My name wasn't on the deed anymore. I logged into the county website. The transfer had been made over a year ago. New owner, Dorian Richardson, the same brother who couldn't find his passport without help. Now sole owner of our family's only shared memory that ever felt like mine. I stared at the screen for 10 whole minutes, not blinking, not breathing deeply, just still. 16 years ago, we roasted marshmallows on the porch of that same lake house. I was 9. Dorian was 7. He threw his into the fire and laughed. I offered him mine. He took it without thanks. At 26, I used my first annual bonus to pay for the new dock. I stained the boards myself. My father said, "You've got a good eye for permanence." Then he patted me on the back and said, "Someday this will be yours." That someday must have expired without notice. A ping from my phone broke the silence. Rowan sent me a screenshot. "You've got to see this," he wrote. It was from Dorian's Instagram, posted 2 summers ago. One of those album dumps he loved captioning with things like legacy vibes and earned not given. In one photo, he stood shirtless in front of the lake house. In his hand, a manila folder. In the background, Dad shaking his hand, Mom smiling wide. And on the picnic table behind them, a champagne bottle. The kind we used for family announcements. The timestamp? 4 months before the transfer. 4 months before I asked Mom if the house was still in the family. She said, "Of course. Nothing's changed." I saved the photo. Then I opened my iCloud and deleted the entire Lake House album. 172 images gone in one swipe. Every canoe ride, every Christmas morning, every sunset. I didn't cry, I didn't even blink. Instead, I wrote an email to my lawyer. Subject, asset division, body. Effective immediately, remove my name from all shared property arrangements with Evelyn and Howard Richardson. I didn't bother with a greeting. That night, I changed my emergency contact form at work. Removed both parents. In my journal, I wrote, "Access is earned, not inherited, not even by blood." I closed the book, turned out the lights, and let the silence stretch like smoke. The rain hadn't stopped for hours. It felt like someone upstairs was rinsing out grief from the clouds. I sat by the window, laptop open, half focused on expense reports for PulsePath, my mind cycling between investment figures and something more personal, something sticky I hadn't dealt with. The call came around 5:30. A quiet voice from my bank asking if I'd authorized a delay in a student loan payoff, the one my parents had promised to reimburse after I graduated. I froze. That loan should have been paid off years ago. 6 years ago, Mom told me, "Once you're stable, honey, we'll handle it. Just focus on your future." Back then, I believed her. Back then, I still called. I texted her, short, blunt. "Did you ever send that tuition reimbursement?" She replied within minutes. "I sent it to Dorian. He needed it for a conference in Vancouver. You're doing well, right? I knew you'd understand." I reread the message 5 times. The words didn't sting. They sunk, quietly, precisely. 16 years ago, I sat on the edge of my twin bed, acceptance letter to Northwestern in hand. I told Dad, eyes bright, that I'd gotten a partial scholarship. His face stayed blank. "Don't expect us to cover the rest," he said. "We're helping Dorian with his music camp." I said it was okay, that I'd figure it out. I remembered that version of me now. The girl with the stiff smile and too big ambition. She thought being responsible would eventually pay off. She thought being practical meant she'd be chosen. 2 days later, Mom accidentally forwarded me an email thread with her financial planner. I almost deleted it without reading. Subject line, "Re-tuition for Lorraine." Her message read, "She doesn't need it, she's the practical one. Dorian can't function unless we support him." No apology, no irony, just fact. I didn't respond. I didn't call. I didn't scream or text 1,000 angry words. Instead, I archived the thread. Not deleted, archived. I'd learned the difference. That night, I sat at my desk in a hoodie that smelled like old rain and pulled up PulsePath's funding dashboard. We were 3 days from closing our second investor round. The difference between barely surviving and expanding nationwide. I whispered, not bitter, not broken, just done. "I don't need your money. I'll buy your silence instead." I opened my HR portal and removed Evelyn and Howard from my emergency contacts. Again. Then I created a new folder on my desktop. Title, Asset Reversal Strategy. Inside it was blank, but not for long. The call came at 2:14 a.m. I stared at the screen, the name glowing like a mistake. Dad. I should have let it ring out, but I picked up. "Lorraine," he said, already half out of breath. "Hey, sorry it's late, but listen. Dorian's pitching a new app next week. Huge exposure potential. He just needs some PR traction, maybe a connection or two." Silence stretched between us. "You're the best at this kind of thing," he added, as if flattery could disguise the transaction. I lay there, watching the condensation beat up on the bedroom window and run like little escapes. Then I said it, calm, precise. "Is that all?" "Yes." Click. I got up, walked to the kitchen, and poured the cold coffee down the sink. The room smelled like burnt filters and lemon cleaner. I wiped the counter like I was erasing the moment. 16 years ago, I brought a working prototype of a solar charge sensor to the school's science fair. Dad had said it was cute. That same month, Dorian built a potato clock. They threw a party. I deleted Dad's contact for the second time. 2 mornings later, I was checking emails when I saw it. A voice memo accidentally forwarded by Mom. I almost ignored it, thinking it was spam. Then I saw the subject line. About Lorraine? For us only. I played it. Mom's voice, bright and too casual. Lorraine's smart, sure, but she's not a star. She's reliable. That's why we keep her close. In the background, Dad replied, Exactly. If Dorian crashes, she'll catch it. She always bounces back. My finger hovered over delete. I didn't press it. I played it again. That night, I opened our company Slack, posted a new internal memo to the executive channel. Effective immediately, exclude all family from PulsePath's strategic communications, no exceptions. Below it, I dropped a quote. Family ties are valuable, but sometimes they're rope. Rowan saw it, reacted with a flame emoji, no comment. He didn't need to. I opened my calendar, created a recurring reminder, enforced boundaries weekly. Then I drafted a new document in my private folder. Title, If They Cross It Again. It was blank, but it wouldn't stay that way. The envelope was hand-delivered. Thick cardstock, embossed gold edges, cream-colored paper that tried too hard to feel like warmth. I turned it over twice before opening it. Inside was a wedding invitation. Dorian and Layla. At the bottom, scribbled in blue ink, was a note from someone who wasn't even family. Press row, near the back, should be quiet. My name wasn't printed on the card. It was written in, like an afterthought. Like they hadn't expected me to come. I didn't cry. I didn't even roll my eyes. I just placed the card on the counter and stared at it. 16 years ago, at my high school prom, I stood by the entrance in a dress I bought secondhand, holding Dorian's spare corsage. His date had bailed, and Mom asked me to fill in. I wasn't his backup. I was their backup, every time. I looked up the venue online, a vineyard outside Atlanta. Gorgeous, overpriced, fake rustic. I found the seating chart on the venue's public profile. The press row was beside the storage closet behind the live band, between the photographers and the wine crates. Later that day, Rowan sent me a screenshot. Thought you should see this, his message read. It was a leaked chart from the internal planning doc. Lorraine, optional VIP, only include if she donates, preferably $25K plus. I stared at it for a full minute. So that's what I was now. A donation bracket, a line item on a spreadsheet. I didn't forward the image. I didn't say a word to anyone, but I did copy it into a folder on my desktop. Title, Receipts. The next morning, I opened the RSVP link. Declined. In the comment box, sending something more impactful than my presence. Then I picked up the phone and called Samir, my legal advisor. I'm ready, I said. Let's begin the breach audit. Today? He asked. I looked at the envelope again. They've had years. I'm already late. By evening, I was hovering over an email draft. To Blake Mendoza. Subject, Richardson Group, Preliminary Breach Audit. I didn't over-explain. Just attached the files and typed one sentence. Time to test their loyalty. To the numbers. Then I hit send. The email subject line read, Internal damage you should know. No name, no greeting, just 4 attachments and silence. I opened them. Balance sheets, loan term summaries, forged quarterly reports. It didn't take long to see the pattern, or the name that kept appearing in bold letters across liability lines. Dorian Richardson. $12 million. That's how much he'd borrowed using the family company as collateral. Not a whisper to the board, no oversight. Just signatures from people I knew had no idea what they were signing. I booked a meeting with Blake Mendoza for 9 a.m. the next day. Blake sat across from me in PulsePath's 35th floor boardroom, tapping a Mont Blanc pen against a blank legal pad. The sky outside was gray, like the city was bracing for something. He reviewed the documents, slow and clinical. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. This isn't mismanagement. It's malpractice. You realize what this means? I nodded. I do. We could acquire them, fold their remains into PulsePath. It would be messy but profitable. I'm not doing this to make money, I said. I'm doing this to make it stop. He looked at me, searching. Understood. Later that afternoon, I followed the breadcrumb left in the email. One of the PDF files had metadata attached to it, J.Green. I ran it through the PulsePath HR cross-referencing tool and found her in 5 seconds. Julia Green, former accountant at Richardson Enterprises, terminated 6 months ago. I scheduled a Zoom call. She looked nervous but relieved. I wasn't sure you'd respond, she said. You sent me proof, I replied. That's more than most people ever have. She explained how Dorian had pressured her into altering financials to extend loan terms. It started with small tweaks. Then he wanted me to fake receivables. After that, it was just survival. Why come forward now? She shrugged. Because I couldn't sleep, and because someone needed to. I asked her permission to record the call. She agreed. When the call ended, I turned to Rowan, who'd sat silently beside me the entire time. You have a case now, he said. Not just for business, for legacy. I nodded. Then I walked into my office, closed the door, and pulled up a blank document. It was a proposal for a quiet acquisition. Not hostile, not loud, just deliberate. Like surgery, debt forgiveness, executive restructuring, asset review. Everything laid out page by page. I would own every inch of it. No more loopholes, no more just helping Dorian. I emailed it to Samir, my legal advisor. I wrote, prepare the takeover terms and ensure Dorian's access is permanently revoked. That night, I printed the original balance sheet, folded it clean, slipped it into a folder marked Lineage. They used to say I was too practical to lead. Let's see how they handle precision. The conference room was colder than usual. Maybe it was the air conditioning. Maybe it was me. I stood at the head of the glass table, files stacked precisely, the city humming behind the tinted windows of the 35th floor. The skyline looked calm. Unlike what was coming, Howard arrived first. He looked smaller, older, his hair grayer than I remembered. Evelyn followed in pearls and denial. And Dorian, predictably, arrived last, phone in hand, sunglasses on, already annoyed before speaking. I didn't stand. I didn't smile. I gestured toward the folder in front of each of them. Let's begin. They opened the contracts. Pages rustled like dry leaves in a wind tunnel. No one spoke until page 3. This is a complete buyout, Evelyn finally said. Yes, I replied. At market valuation, as of this week. You can't be serious, she whispered. I've never been more serious. Howard flipped another page. You're removing all family from executive positions? Correct. No board seats? None. Dorian slammed his palm on the table. You're erasing us. You already erased me, years ago. I'm just signing off. You're doing this because you're bitter. No, I'm doing this because I'm done. They looked to each other like hostages in a sinking ship. Then Evelyn's eyes caught something. Page 6. Her lips parted. What is this clause? I didn't blink. If you don't sign by Friday at 5 p.m., the deal is null. The company defaults. Creditors trigger bankruptcy proceedings by Monday. You wouldn't. I already did. The door opened behind them. Blake Mendoza stepped in, silent as ever. It's real, he said. Clause is enforceable. Your board co-signed it last week without realizing. Howard's face dropped. Evelyn turned pale. Dorian stood up, knocking over his chair. This is insane, he barked. She's trying to destroy the family. I looked up at him, calm as ice. No, Dorian, I'm trying to survive it. They stood, slowly. No handshakes, no eye contact, just the weight of paper and years. Before they reached the door, I said, You have until Friday. After that, I won't answer your calls. I won't open your emails. And I won't remember your names in meetings. Evelyn turned, voice breaking. This isn't you. You never bothered to find out who I was. They left in silence. Blake stayed behind, poured himself coffee from the side table, took a sip. Was this the plan all along? I shrugged. Let's just say they had their chance. The package arrived an hour before the vows. Black matte, no return address, just a red wax seal with a single word beneath it, final. Inside, a folder, legal documents stamped, notarized, final. The full takeover, every clause, every signature. At the top of the stack, a letter addressed to Dorian. But Evelyn opened it first. She knew the moment her eyes hit the clause. Her hands trembled, her breath caught. There were pages of evidence, loan fraud, forged projections, and a signed affidavit from Julia Green, the accountant who quit quietly 6 months ago. I wasn't there, of course. I was at home, on my balcony, watering my herbs and letting the late summer sun bleed across the tile. I didn't need to be present to pull a string. I'd learned that from them. My assistant texted. They opened the box. I didn't respond. I poured a glass of water, put on Nina Simone, and sat cross-legged in silence. Ain't Got No I Got Life spilled from the speakers, soft and unapologetic. 6 years ago, they laughed as they handed Dorian the trust, toasted him like he'd already changed the world. I sat there with a fork still in my hand and a name I no longer recognized. Now it was their turn to sit still. At the vineyard, the guests waited. Layla was missing. The aisle was empty. Dorian paced behind the barn, phone pressed to his ear, shouting at someone who had stopped listening. The wedding planner whispered apologies. Evelyn wept in the makeup tent. Howard said nothing at all. Then Layla appeared. No veil, no smile, just the folder in her hand. She placed her bouquet on the ground and walked past the chairs, down the gravel path, and straight to her car. She didn't slam the door. She didn't cry. She just left. The ceremony never started. The next day, Dorian's app lost its lead investor. His Instagram went dark. His name trended for all the wrong reasons. 3 days later, he showed up drunk at the house in Roswell. Howard didn't let him in. Evelyn sat on the porch steps, watching her son unravel, holding a glass of wine she hadn't sipped. She left me a voicemail that night. Lorraine, please, it wasn't supposed to go this far. I didn't listen to the rest. I opened my journal and wrote, I didn't ruin their wedding. I just told the truth in a room full of liars. Then I slipped the final copy of The Takeover into the fireproof safe beneath my bed. I labeled the folder, History, Not Vengeance. And for the first time in years, I slept without dreaming of an apology that would never come. 3 missed calls from Evelyn. 1 voicemail. We didn't mean for it to end like this. I played it once on speaker while watering the plants by my office window. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered, like she was speaking through cotton, like she knew I wouldn't answer. I didn't. I deleted the message, then opened my journal and wrote 1 sentence. What they regret now, they orchestrated then. It had been 4 weeks since the wedding collapse, since Layla left Dorian at the altar, since the takeover went public, since every board member at Richardson Enterprises was formally replaced. I remember the day they came into my boardroom. They looked like strangers, older, quieter, lost in their own consequences. My father tried to speak. We were wrong. I didn't interrupt. I didn't nod. I just waited. This wasn't a betrayal, I finally said. It was a pattern. I just finally stopped ignoring it. The contract was already notarized. All they had to do was sign. They didn't ask for terms. They already knew. Now it was done. PulsePath had absorbed every piece of Richardson Enterprises. The last invoice cleared yesterday. This morning, I sat across from Rowan at a rooftop cafe downtown. He handed me the final documents in a black envelope. Everything's official, he said. Richardson South is live. I nodded. Did they fight it? He shook his head. They never even responded. I signed the last page and leaned back, watching the wind shift the umbrella over our table. Do you feel lighter? He asked. I thought about it. No, I said, but I feel cleaner. Later, in my office, I received a package from legal, a polished nameplate, Lorraine Richardson, founder. I held it in both hands. For a second, I considered filing for a name change, letting the Richardson legacy burn out in a courtroom file. But I didn't. They gave me nothing but this name. Now I've made it mean something else. That night, I opened a draft in my notes app, a letter, just 4 words. I forgive you, quietly. I stared at it, then closed the app, didn't save it, didn't send it. Some names, like some wounds, don't need to be erased, just outgrown. Sometimes, silence is the loudest answer. Sometimes, walking away isn't weakness. It's the clearest form of strength. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't owe loyalty to people who only value your silence, your usefulness, or your compliance. Blood may start a story, but it doesn't have to end it. To anyone out there who's been overlooked, underestimated, or used, your worth isn't up for negotiation. Build your name, Own your space. Define your legacy. What would you do if the people who broke you came back asking for help? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Drop a 1 if this story resonated with you, or tell me where you're watching from. If it didn't hit home, tell me why. I value your honesty. And if you want more stories that dive deep into truth, healing, and personal power, don't forget to subscribe. Your next chapter might just begin with the next video.